Pinuyumayan. My name is Alexander Shin, and it's my pleasure to finally welcome you to the second season of In Taiwan We Speak, your audio guide to Taiwan's mind-blowing linguistic diversity. And today in Taiwan we speak Pinuyumayan, a language also sometimes called Peinan or Puyuma, that comes to us from picturesque areas of central Taitung County. And to talk about Pinuyumayan and the issues that concern its speaking community, I am joined today by Tuhi Martukaw, or Jocelyn Ting-Hui, an Indigenous rights activist, journalist, and TV presenter. Tuhi, thank you so much for coming here today.
Pinuyumayan, thank you for having me.
So, first things first, I want to talk about your name. Your name is quite long, and I assume it's because your background is also quite diverse, right?
Yeah. So Tuhi Martukaw is my indigenous name. It's my Pinuyumayan name. And Tuhi is a name that I was given by my grandmother and grand-aunt. They gave me this name when I was around 21. And this is a name from my ancestor. And so for my family, they usually give the name to the kids when they are a bit older, not really like when they are born, they give a name immediately. Usually we'll have a nickname first. So my nickname is Jinumu. That means greedy eater because I ate quite a lot. Well, I still eat quite a lot. And then because I didn't grow up in the community, so at first they didn't think it's necessary to give me an indigenous name. And also because I'm half-half. And for them, they would say that they actually in the beginning, they didn't really want me to have, for example, indigenous accent, and also because I live in Taipei, so they didn't want me to be discriminated if I have accent or with the name or something like that. That's also from their past experiences. And then when I was around 21, that was the time I started to work for Indigenous TV. I was presenting. So as an anchor, they put names on it. So they were thinking it's a bit embarrassing if people who can speak Pinuyumayan language, then they will know that I'm a greedy eater. That's why after discussion, they decided to give me this name of one of my ancestors. And with our family, it's usually with an expectation. For example, they want me to be as outstanding as this ancestor, or if they see a kid, like the appearance of the kid that looked like one of our ancestors, they will also give the name of that ancestor to the kid. And Martukaw is the house, the name of the ancestral worship house. So it's not really like a family name or name of the clan. And in my community, every ancestral house, we have different responsibilities in the ancestral house. So for Martukaw, we are in charge of worshiping our ancestors. So we communicate with different spirits. That's about my indigenous name. And with my Han Chinese name, it's Homeland Ting-Hui. And because I'm half-half, so I have to put my mom's last name, which is Hong, so that I can legally obtain my indigenous status. That's something to do with the law in Taiwan.
The paperwork.
Yeah. Actually, but I do like my Chinese name or my Han name quite a lot because Ting-Hui is given by my grandfather from my father's side. So with the expectation that he wants me to be as beautiful as a flower in the court. So it's also with the expectation from the other half of my blood. And with Jocelyn, this is also quite interesting because Jocelyn is the name I choose to give to myself because, in Taiwan, almost every kid will go to kindergarten, or when we're younger, we go to this cram school for English. And then the teacher, they will give us English names, but without any kind of meaning. Yeah, they just say, because I have a word, Ting. So at first, I was given a name Tina because of Ting, but I didn't really like it because it didn't really make sense. So when I grow older, I choose this name by myself, Jocelyn, because it's with the root of the name is joy. So to bring happiness and also to be happy. And after I grow older, I realized that it's actually something related to Indigenous rights movement because in the past, for the indigenous peoples, we are named differently. So we were given different kinds of names, like at first Fan and then Gaosha, and then Huanna. All these kind of different names that were given by the colonizers without asking us, without any kind of meaning. It's all discriminated. So to name ourselves, it's something very meaningful. And also it's a way to really practice our rights to self-determination.
I think it's an extremely beautiful story of how you had not one, but two opportunities to reclaim your own name, also in English, right?
Yeah.
And so for your indigenous name, you literally had to sit down with your family and you decided that your name will be Tuhi and Martukaw.
Yeah.
That's a very beautiful name.
Thank you.
All of them are beautiful names that you got. As you know, this is our first episode where we introduce Pinuyumayan language and its speaking community to our audience. And so thank you so much for being here today for that. Now, let's clear the first thing. There's Pinuyumayan, and there's Puyuma, and there's Peinan. What is the difference between these three ways to call this language? And which one do you prefer to use?
Okay, it's quite complicated. In Taiwan, we now have 16 recognized indigenous peoples. And at first, we were categorized into 9 different peoples. That was given by the Japanese during the Japanese colonization. And the way they divided different indigenous peoples, it's with, like, for example, the appearance, the language, and also like the outfit. But it's not really like, how do I say that? They don't really have a definition or accurate way to do this.
It was quite racist, I heard.
It was. So that's the first time we were called Puyuma was by the Japanese. But actually, Puyuma is the name of one of the community.
Within Pinuyumayan.
Yeah, within Pinuyumayan. So nowadays we have 10 communities, and that's one of them. And of course, the Puyuma community has been quite strong in the past and until now as well. So I can understand why they call like the whole people as one of the name of this community. But of course, we don't call us as Puyuma because we are not from Puyuma. We are from, like, my people or my community, it's Kasavakan. So we don't call ourselves Puyuma. And for Pinuyumayan, it's actually, it's not a traditional word. They created it. Our elders, they created this term because, of course, for rest of the 9 communities, we don't recognize us as Puyuma. So they came together, the elders from different communities, they came together and they were discussing about how can we call ourselves? Because, in Taiwan, if we say like Amis or Banza or Punun, it's all with the meaning of human in their own language. But for Puyuma, it's not.
Oh.
So for us, our language, when we say human, it's Za'u. It's a bit like Da'u, the people on Lanyu. So we don't call ourselves that way either. And so the elders, they were thinking maybe we can come up with a term. It's with the meaning that people like the people from Puyuma. So that's why we have this term, Pinuyumayan. That means the people who are like the people from Puyuma. So that's why they created this term and used this term to call our whole people. And I think that was around 2008. And several years after that, I don't really remember what year, the Council of Indigenous Peoples, they finally recognized that, okay, in official documents, they will also use Pinuyumayan to call our people. And Beinan is the Chinese term. I'm not so sure how they come up with this term, but it's like in Chinese, they call us by Beinan.
We just don't use that word at all.
Well, it's like if we speak in Chinese, of course, we still use that. And people know that better because first it's also the name of the district, administrative district in Taitung. And also with this, we have this prehistory site that is called Beinan.
All right.
So I guess that's why they also name us Beinan, because the Pinuyumayan peoples, the communities of us are around that area. Yeah.
Now, I of course want to talk about the communities. You mentioned that you are from a different community. It's called Kasavakan, right? And well, I've Googled it up and it's a very beautiful place, very close to Taitung City, right?
It's like 15 to 20 minutes by car.
All right. I haven't been there, sadly. And to someone who also hasn't been there, how would you introduce your native community?
For Kasavagan community, first, it's very accessible. But of course, in Taitung, you will need to have a car. But it's just right on the main street, like on the side of the main street. And for us, two very famous thing about my community is at first we are famous for driftwood carving because the traditional chief of my community, he is a wood carving master and he's very famous. So in the community we can see a lot of his work around the community, but also not only from him but also from other members of the community. We do have a lot of wood carvings in the community, and all the statues are about like the history of the community or the different figures in the community. So if we go around the community to look at all these wood carvings, then you will get a very clear idea about our history and also like our daily lives. And the other thing is that every year, at the end of the year and also the first day of the new year, we have our traditional ceremony. It's the harvest ceremony, and we call it Amiyan. That means like we go through to another year. And on that time, we will have a really huge swing. So this huge swing is constructed by 4 huge bamboo. The swing is like 3 to 4 floors high.
Hold up, I was picturing a swing for kids.
Kids can also take that, but it's huge.
All right.
And at first it was for kids because during our ceremony or our rituals, when we are communicating with the other world or like with different spirits, we do have a lot of taboo. For example, sneezing or fart or making noise or fighting with each other. All these are forbidden. It will bring out us bad luck. In the ancient time, when we were having our ceremonies, the elders at that time, they thought, the kids maybe, sometimes they cannot really control themselves. So they built a small swing for the kids to play with, so they would not interrupt what we have with the ritual, with the worshipping. But then the kids were having fun. The elders or the adults thought, it looks nice. Maybe we can make a big one.
4 stories
So
tall.
then now we have a huge one.
Right.
Yeah, but for us, it's very important to go back to attend the ceremony every year, because with the swing, it's a very beautiful way to start the new year. And every time when we are swinging, we would think it's a way to swing off all the bad luck and also all the sadness, and to swing toward a brighter future, something like that, with a very nice meaning of that. And also, if the sky is clear, we can see the Pacific very clearly when we are swinging up to the top, because all the ceremony will be taking place underneath the swing. When we are dancing, we will make a circle, and with the circle we are also surrounding the swing. It's just for us, it's an important way to really remind ourselves that we are from the circle of the community. So no matter what we do, no matter where we go, we have our root here, and we have all the support and love from the community. So this is, for me, it's very important.
And around what time of the year does Amiyan happen?
So the ceremony will be on the 1st of January and the 2nd. But
also for the actual New Year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's also because of the Japanese colonization.
Right.
Because at that time they kind of make us to celebrate the New Year with them. So we still do that until now.
So every year in the end of December you go back.
Yeah.
To be with your community.
Yeah, to prepare with all this work that we need to do, and then also to go through the year together. Yeah.
That reminds me some of my home traditions also. We also have this belief that we need to enter the new year, with a clean record, get rid of all the bad stuff and leave it in the past year. And well, speaking about your community and Pinuyumayan in general, there's, I think, according to some of the latest estimates, there's about 14,000 people within the larger community, right? Now, from what you mentioned, my impression is that the traditions are pretty much alive and thriving, which is, I think, is not a given for indigenous communities in Taiwan, right? Because many face extreme harsh oppression and assimilation. How do you think your community, despite being so small, managed to preserve so much of its culture and traditions?
Actually, we did go through a very hard time. So, with all these colonizations, not only with the Japanese, but also with the KMT government, we do have like a break for 20, 30 years, like for quite a long time. And for me, I can still, what I remember is that starting from around 2008, because we have within our tradition, we have this practice of youth assembly or youth organization. So for the young men, when they turn around 12, 13, they will go into this men's gathering house. We call it balaguan. So they will be trained and they will be learning all the skills they need to know to become an adult, then qualified adult, in Balaguan. And for girls, we don't go to a Balaguan, but we do have our own process of learning all these skills and knowledge that we need to have. Around the same age, we will go into this process together. So around the same age, we will be in the same, like a classroom. So we will be like a class 2024, something like that. And we will be really like sticking together with each other because we're not only live together, but we also like suffer together because all these trainings, all this learning is not easy. And our elders, they're usually very harsh.
Right.
Yeah, they are tough. So we do have that process. And then because of the Japanese colonization, we lost our Balaguan. And without this, because Balaguan is like the center of the community, and without Balaguan, it's quite difficult for us to maintain this practice. But still, there are kind of ways to still doing things like that. But of course, it's changing along the time. But then around 2008, some of the older brothers, at that time they are quite young, they started to really do research and also ask around to do their homework to try to revitalize this more traditional way of the youth organization, this youth assembly. And also, I think that was around 2011 or 2012, we started to resume this practice of growing millet, planting millet by the whole community. Because in the past, we do have this practice that we will have a communal millet field. Of course, every household, we have our own millet field, but we also have a communal field that we work together, we exchange our labor, we divide our work. And it's a very important way to put the community together. And also with the harvest of the millet, that's why we can have the celebration of Millet Harvest Festival in July. And also for the new year to come, we use the millet to worship the ancestors and also to worship the god. That was the time we really bring back millet to our traditional ceremonies. Otherwise, in the past 20, 30 years, we don't really have millet in our traditional ceremony. So with that, we bit by bit brought the tradition back to our daily lives because, growing millet is not like a small group of people can do that. It's like taking a lot of effort. And also starting from 2015, the youth of my age, we started to write a project to apply for a fund from the government to bring younger youth back to the community, work in the community, so they can support their livelihood with the work, but also stay in the community to immerse themselves more in the culture. And nowadays, though, around 10 years, almost 11 years now, we have around 12 to 15 youth working full-time in the community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and also we still have some project that we can have some people work in the community as part-time. So I think that's a way that we link on our tradition with a modern way to adjust ourselves. But the main idea is that we try to create this space for us to work in the community or work for the community. Because, for example, me, I'm working in the news, and it's difficult for me to find a similar job in Taitung, back in Taitung. But that doesn't mean that I don't live in the community, but I still working very closely with the people in the community. And that's the way we can do a lot more things, because we do have different expertise, we have different experiences, we have different background of studies and all these things, and we can do what we want, what we like, and also what we can do for the community.
Now, thank you so much for this sharing, Tuhi. And with that, we've run towards the end of our episode. Join us next week as we continue our conversation with Tuhi Martukaw. Thank you, Tuhen. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. My name is Oleg, and this was In Taiwan We Speak. See you next week.